No Zoom, no craziness.
Came that much earlier. Holy cow.
Just when we were hitting our stride, we figured it out. Now we can
Sure.
forget how to use
Everything
it.
went okay though? That's awesome.
I don't think that's it. Wait, the percentage was up because we didn't test that many. What did we test? We only tested like 70? No. But then remember, today's goes to next week's because it's a week behind.
Okay, I thought it went from Wednesday to Wednesday and Tuesday to whatever.
Yeah, now it's, I'll explain it because remember they changed that metric to help them and it,
Kill it.
everybody else.
Is it the days?
Yeah.
Almost every county's up.
Yeah.
I can believe it.
No, it wasn't. It was the opposite of a good day. Did it feel weird to have to go to work again after not having
We
it for
haven't
like
had that since November 23rd. Of course.
and when does food trucks start? Isn't that the question? Like right now?
Yeah, I've actually had that message already. They're gonna start in February.
You guys gonna start soon?
I got six.
Not 6.
Ready? Call to order council meeting for January 11th. If everyone would stand for the pledge.
Dear Lord, bless the decisions of this body, guide us tonight and the future as well. Amen.
We have a roll call.
Mr. Stengel?
Here.
Mr. Ravelette?
Here.
Mr. McNeese?
Here.
Mr. Lau?
Here.
Mr. Gornow?
Present.
Mr. Grove?
Here.
Mr. Salters?
Here.
Mayor Yocum?
Here. And now we will move to your reorganization.
Yep. All right, so we're going to open the floor for nominations for President of the Vincent City Council.
I'll nominate Tim Salters for president.
I second that.
Do I run this, Dave, or do they?
No, I got it. And then, like, the Roberts rules, we open it, and then we wait till the nominations, and then we close it, and then we vote on the nominations. I feel like I have to say that every time, and we still get it messed up. All right, any other nominations? All right, with that, we'll close and make a motion to vote. I'm the only one, so we gotta do the vote anyway.
Congratulations.
We vote still, correct? Yes. Make the call.
Question.
Okay. Mr. Gornow?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Yes.
Mr. McNeese?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette?
Yes.
Mr. Stengel?
Yes.
Mr. Salters?
Yes. All right, now we will open it up for nominations for Vice President of Vincent City Council. I would like to nominate Councilman Grove. Do we have
I'll-
any?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, let's call for question on this one.
Or any other nomination.
Any other nominations? Hey, gosh, why do we always mess this one up when we do a nomination for anything? Any other nominations? All right, without any other nominations, I will call for question.
Mr. Stengel,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Gornell,
Yes.
Mr. Salters.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. So now we will move on to adoption of the agenda.
We're gonna need to add ordinance 120, 2021. Kathy will explain it to us when we get there. It's kind of a bookkeeping thing, and she'll go into detail to it. We'll just add that, new business, because reorganization's over. It'll be right after, Commissioner Brink talks about road updates. We'll make that one RC. With that change to the agenda, I make a motion we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove to adopt the agenda with the addition of ordinance 1/2021.
Question.
Mr. Gornell,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. Salters,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, the agenda is adopted. Next up is approval of minutes for your December 21st meeting.
Make a motion to approve, the December 21st meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove to approve the December 21st minutes as presented.
Question.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel,
Yes.
Mr. Gornell,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Salters.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, the minutes are approved. Petitions, memorials, remonstrances. Being none, we'll go to committee chair reports.
I don't have a committee chair report, but I do have an area plan commission report. Area plan commission met Tuesday, January 5th. Most of that meeting, the entire 2.5 hours of it, was a reorganization. We also fixed some procedural issues, and the area plan commission has changed its fee structure, increasing some of the fees that go along with that. One of the things that I just want to ask the board, or ask the council, if you would, the next meeting, which is Tuesday, February 2nd to 21st, it should be a Facebook Live, or I would invite you to attend in person. It is the application for development plan approval of the solar farm. It will be a busy meeting. They will be there presenting their case to the Area Plan Commission. It should be very interesting to see. This is the entire application right here, if anybody would like to see it. It's pretty thick. It's a good meeting. I know the county. I see some county people here. They'll be there. And it impacts us a great deal in the city too. So if you can, try to attend. It will be a long one though. And they don't have a location for it yet. I think that they looked at the water utility building. I don't know if that is going to work. It should, but I don't know if that's going to work. They've looked at a couple other facilities as well. So when that is, you will see that in the media outlets or in its release when they do. That's it.
Mark, what was that date again?
Date and time again. Awesome.
Tuesday, February 2nd. It'll be at 6 p.m. We just don't know the location. It will be the presentation of the solar farm, the $110 million solar farm.
The UEA meeting will meet the 19th, 5 o'clock here at City Hall. Just to announce that.
Any other committee reports? If not, we'll move to report of city officers. None. We'll go to public comment. Now's the time for public comment. None. We'll move to old business. First up is business updates.
All right, so we made it through the holiday season pretty well. If you talk to our businesses, they did good. So we were kind of hammering to make sure to buy local here. And now we're hitting that first quarter, which I know Councilman McNeese has really hit on about how important that is. This is the one that everybody kind of worries about. So we don't need to kind of forget about our push. We need to keep reminding the people to do that. Our business has had a pretty good holiday season. I'm not going to say great. They said they did well. And they're in a very good spot. We're very lucky for the support that our community gave those, but we can't take our foot off the gas pedal now. With that being said, we do have our gift card promotion that we're going to be doing. I'll send an email out to you guys as a group. It'll probably be easiest if we just met at a time sometime next week to do your quick video clip for the promotional piece. Councilman Ravelette sent that template out of what you need to say with the businesses, so we'll send a couple times. Just come in, I'll get a quick video so you can put that together. So then the chamber's ready to, we're ready to wheel it out. Chamber's ready to share those things to really hit on those businesses. Amongst us, we had 70 businesses that we picked from. So, I mean, that's good. The key thing is to drive interest, get people buying and shopping local. That's the whole point of this gift card thing. And I thank Councilman Ravelette for all the work that he put into that, because this is going to be a good promotional piece. They've got a campaign going right now for this first couple weeks. Then we pick up right after that, and hopefully that'll be a very strong first quarter for our local businesses. And then we'll have some hopefully good new business news coming up shortly. So we're very excited about those things when it comes to our business updates.
Councilman Ravelette, if
Yes.
this is as successful as I believe it will be, are you going to present plans to the council to do this again, maybe in the third or fourth quarter? And that would give businesses, I know that we are all out in the community quite a bit, and there are businesses that we all knew, 70 of them, but it would give opportunity maybe to other businesses that weren't necessarily named by us to come back and get a hold of you, and maybe we could do the program again if it proves to be as successful as I believe it will be.
I think we should, yes. I'd
Yeah.
very much like to.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to county metrics.
All right, so since the last time we meet, there's been, quite a bit of changes. One of the big things is the state kind of changed the way that they do or measure their county metrics. So it was based on the percentage every day, and they took all those percentages and divided it by 7. Now it's just total test and total positive for the week. The hope was to help smaller communities like our size. When the mayor and I kind of looked at it, you've got a lot of red in southern Indiana. Now we've kind of been steady. The mayor and I have been watching these numbers basically every day, talking, texting, going over those things. We've been right there at that 2.5. And that's what it looks like it's probably going to be going into Wednesday. We're just right there. We've had a slow kind of trend downward that probably will be steady, maybe a little upward come Wednesday if you kind of look at the numbers that we've got so far. But we're holding steady. Our businesses are doing good. Our schools, they'll be back in session in person this week. The key thing is, like the mayor and I keep hitting on, you've got to remember those protocols, wash your hands, socially distance, wear a mask. And the big one that I would emphasize is if you don't feel good, stay home, please. That's one that it's hard for people. I know a lot of people like to kind of power through and do those things, but if you don't feel good, stay home. And hopefully we'll be there and see a downward trend continue. And that's what we want to see. Obviously, the vaccine clinic opened today. Make sure that you're helping people with those specifically right now. It's the 80 and up. If they need help, make sure that you reach out to anyone that you might know or families that you might know. You can help them sign up. Family members can help those elderly sign up that might have issue with signing up via computer. But remember, too, you've got the 211 number. It kind of got flooded on Friday, and I was helping a couple people in our community with that, but it was better throughout the weekend and going into today. So make sure that you know those things. I think the 211 is the easy one to remember, and that's usually easier for some of our people to deal with. But then you also got ourshot.gov that people can go to as well. So there'll be more information coming out throughout the week. I mean, we're talking in this segment right now. It's going to be 80, then 70, then 60, but they'll release that information as it goes. So right now it's 80 and up. So make sure we get that information out there because we've got a little hope at the end of the tunnel. So let's keep following our protocols and helping those get the vaccine and encouraging people to get the vaccine.
Okay, we'll move to new business. First up will be Chris Paff. The housing survey update.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Chris Paff. I'm with the Knox County Development Corporation, 1101 North 3rd Street. And each of you should have a brief slide deck in front of you there. And these are just some of the high points that the steering committee went over in December when we met on the 17th. So since I was here previously, this is a follow-up to the initial conversation we had about the need for a housing study, a county-wide housing study, not just for the city. But since that last conversation, we've done three things. We've formed a steering committee, which is made up of each of the 6 organizations that are helping fund the study, or at least have verbally committed to having an interest in funding. We've selected a firm to conduct the study, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. And we've received, as I mentioned, those commitments from 5 other organizations, including KCDC. So as far as background goes, some of the facts that we discussed at the steering committee include that housing is an essential element to attract and retain workforce. And adequate housing, adequate in quality, quantity, and cost is very important. And KCDC is especially interested in leaning forward on this issue because we believe that without affordable and quality housing, this community is not going to prosper. And that's why we think this is such an important topic. So our message is that quality housing is essential to our economic diversity. We must attract new enterprises, creative entrepreneurs, and young households who will become the future civic and business leaders of Vincennes and Knox County. These folks, including our own children and our grandchildren, must find a place to call home in this area. And I don't believe that I've spoken with one person who doesn't believe that there's a shortage of affordable and quality housing. And so this study is intended to really get to the bottom of that and let us know for sure where those gaps exist. So some of the assumptions that we discussed during the steering committee meeting is that, as we just talked about, there's a perception of a housing shortage. We are definitely in a seller's market. Everybody understands that that quality homes in this community go quickly and sometimes above asking price, which is probably a few years ago was unheard of. We also know that medical residents are choosing not to live in Knox County, and even though they, sometimes they split their time between here and Evansville, the ones that are working here primarily are choosing not to live in the community. And in discussion with the hospital certainly, as one of the funders for the study, is interested to see what the outcome will be. Now, we also know that there are a few housing developments already in the pipeline, but I believe even if all of the apartments and homes were built that have been talked about, I still believe that we will likely need more housing. And so the study will take into account those developers that are planning to build housing projects in the next year or two. We also know that there are more than 1,400 commuters that come into Knox County to work just from Illinois. That doesn't include all the other counties in Indiana that migrate into Knox County for jobs. And I believe that we could probably attract at least a percentage of those folks if they found a good place to live here. And we also believe that our most urgent need is likely somewhere between the 120 and 250 range when it comes to single-family homes. But again, the study will look at that and determine where that range lies and where the market looks in those different ranges. So the purpose of the study is to give all of you and county leaders and the Redevelopment Commission an opportunity to see the results of this study, help you set priorities and establish development proposals, and also the plans that will become the basis for action. Housing professionals, including developers, builders, real estate agents, and financial institutions, are all interested in what the outcome of the study will be. Also in your packet, you see each of the members of the steering committee. Now, these are just the folks that we've started with, and the committee has talked about adding additional members of the steering committee. But in order to get the firm selected, we wanted to have a meeting in December and make that happen. So you see the names there on behalf of the county, Richard Chatton, 2 members from the hospital, Terry Farmer and Abby Hartwick, myself from KCDC, Tim Salters from the City Council, the mayor, Tim Smith from the Redevelopment Commission, and Linda Waldrop from VU have all agreed to serve as the initial members of the steering committee. I think we're likely going to add some members from the building community, maybe another realtor, and other suggestions
Chris,
as we go forward.
the suggestion, I have it written down here, is the executive director of the Area Plan Commission, Colt Michaels.
Okay.
I think that he would be a good choice on this. He has a background in city and urban planning,
Yeah.
and he's in it every day, so that may be a really nice.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that suggestion before, but I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just to conclude, our expectations of the study will be to identify and assess the current housing stock, including quantity and quality. And keep in mind, this is countywide, so we'll be looking at the other communities in addition to Vincennes. Understanding where the gaps are in both single-family and multifamily housing. So we suspect that there are some things we'll learn about the rental market within the community, and also determine what the demand and the price points are for both single-family and rental properties. So the total cost of the study is $27,000. So we are asking each organization to invest $4,500. KCDC has already budgeted for that amount in our annual budget. And tonight I'm coming before you to formally ask if the city will invest that amount for the study. Now, if we do, there are a couple of other organizations that we're continuing to talk to. So this would be up to $4,500, not to exceed, and it could be lower if we get a seventh investor, but that's what the price is for today. And then the firm that we've chosen is Thomas P. Miller and Associates, based out of Indianapolis. I've worked with them on a number of projects in the past. I think they do very good work. And we had 3 proposals for the study, and we felt like this one was the most cost-effective, and the quality of the firm is why we chose TPMA. So with that, I'll be glad to open the floor for questions or further discussion.
And I do have a letter from Chris making that request today that I can get to Cheryl so we can get a claim filled out whenever the time comes to pay our portion.
And I know the mayor and I have had discussions, and I mean, I don't want to speak for the council as a whole, but I know this is a top priority that we have talked about, and this is something that we've talked about not just now, but for years. So I know that we've looked around at our budget and we're ready to go on our end, but obviously the floor is open for you guys to be able to make your opinion heard as well. Chris, I do appreciate how quick that you got this started. I mean, you came here, said that this is the route that we were going. We had a meeting, steering committee. We've got a firm picked, and we're moving in the right direction. Right now is a perfect time to be able to do this, because this is going to be a tool that's going to allow us to really pinpoint our need. Instead of just talking about this wide range that, hey, we think it's around this range,
Right.
that we're going to be able to pinpoint it, and not just in our most critical need, which would be single-family houses, but that more high-end department that we've talked about before, and those type of things. It's not just that focus. I mean, it's basically everything that we're looking at. Whatever need that we have in the city of Vincennes, and every housing area, whether it's apartments, new homes, starter homes, expanded homes, those kind of things, we've got a need all over. And to be able to look for those and be able to have that tool to be able to, hey, maybe there's a grant here we can go for. Well, maybe we've got a little bit of extra investment dollars we can go here. Or maybe that kind of interests a couple builders once they
Right.
get that information. I mean, this is very positive and a very good move for the city of Vincennes and Knox County as a whole. And I know a thing that we've always constantly talked about, it's working together and making sure that we build up not just the city of Vincennes, but Knox County, because they succeed, we succeed. We succeed, they succeed. So I'm all in on this, and I know the mayor is as well.
And I will say that all of the organizations that came out to support the study, we didn't have to twist arms. It was very easy to find folks who think this is a good investment for us to make, and the data that will come out of this that we can use in good ways.
Chris, did I miss it? When's the preliminary results and then the final report going to come out? Did you say that?
So we'll set some specific milestones and dates, but just rough timeline. We believe that we'll be completed with this probably within the next 4.5 months. I do want to also invite anyone who has a strong opinion or would like to participate. There'll be a number of focus groups that TPMA helps us organize. We'll probably be looking at folks from the university, folks from the hospital, specifically those residents that we talk about that choose not to live here. We'll do a number of, and these will probably be, due to the pandemic, most of them will probably be virtual versus in person. Which I think is, these firms are getting used to doing business this way, just as we are sometimes. So, but I will open that up. Please reach out and contact us if you'd like to be in a specific focus group, and we'd be glad to plug you in where appropriate.
Any other questions? Chris, what we'll do is we'll get that letter to Cheryl, and we'll get, a claim written up, whatever we need, or wait till we hear back from your seventh person. But
Okay.
I think, we're all on board on this.
And you said that the payment will be made at a later date.
Yeah, and I meant to mention, KCDC will serve as the fiscal agent, so we'll collect the investments from each of the local organizations, and then we'll pay Thomas B. Miller and Associates from KCDC.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
All
you,
right, that
Chris.
works for us, Chris.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Next is TJ Brink Road update.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Mr. Salters, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, I'm TJ Brink, recently elected county commissioner.
I'd go with the first one.
Yeah. I would like to echo something you just said, Mr. Salters, in which what is good for the county is good for Vincennes, and what is good for Vincennes is good for the county as regional and small as well. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today. In the 11 days that I've been a commissioner, I have received several phone calls from the folks who live west of 15th Street, otherwise known as Bunker Hill, with concerns of 15th Street and 16th Street. The county will be paving 15th Street from Watson to Miller, which is basically the county-city line out to Miller Road. That leaves about a 3-block radius from Willow Street to Watson, which is city-owned. And I just wanted to come before you folks today to let you know that we are going to be paving in that area. One of the things that you could save a little bit of money on if you have not already set your paving dollars for the year is, since we're already going to be there, it won't cost you a relocation fee because we're already there. So I wanted to make you know, let you know of what our plans were, and that's really all, and open it up to any questions that you might have. Again, I don't know what your paving schedule is for the year, but that's one of the things we really wanted to make sure you guys knew so that we don't have that gap.
I can tell you, we just now, so JP started looking at that through our PASER program and working with Vectren and everything else we gotta do, but I will say, I know 16th Street because there's a business out there that's willing to participate in paving,
That is correct, yes.
so we've got somebody that's willing to help us with the paving.
Yeah, you're looking at about a 3-block radius that you have, or 3 blocks that you have from 15th to Miller, or Watson, I'm sorry.
So just, council, I would just advise, kind of go out there, take a look at that section. If we want to kind of jump on this, then, obviously, if they've got all the stuff out there and they're going forward, it would be a little bit cheaper to be able to do that while they're out there, but obviously.
You would have a
kind of take
relocation
look.
fee.
Mayor, does it fall
yeah.
within the RDC?
I don't think so.
It's close.
Plus,
It's close, but I don't
Close.
believe
I don't
it
think it
does.
does either.
it's not in the RDC.
Nope.
But remember, we have to go by PASER, we can't pave streets that are.
Right.
We have to follow our PASER program, the state requires that,
Absolutely.
so, But if that works out, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
JP's putting that together right now.
JP's
Correct.
working
Thanks,
on it
TJ.
now.
Thank you, TJ. I mean, Commissioner, sorry.
Okay,
Commissioner
next
Brink.
is ordinance 1/2021.
Make a motion to read and approve, ordinance 1/20/2021. Gosh, that's.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove to read ordinance 1/2021.
Ordinance number 1/2021, ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Vincennes, Indiana, amending amended ordinance number 30-94 to bring certain work schedules into compliance with State Board of Accounts requirements and the new city personnel policy and procedure manual containing sections 1 and 2.
All right, since we,
Discussion.
this is kind of a late addition, Kathy asked us to put it on there, kind of a paperwork thing to be able to kind of fix up. So Kathy, can you explain what we will be voting on tonight?
Basically, what this ordinance will do is kind of bring up to date this previous ordinance that had really never been addressed for this one part of the fire department. It never really updated their new work hours and what was expected, so we always kind of went by this old ordinance. But after our last State Board of Accounts audit, they said we could not continue to do that. We had to address something in the handbook, and until the handbook's passed, this ordinance will will override that and therefore bring us more into compliance with State Board of Accounts and FLSA guidelines as we pay overtime and the fire department specifically. Everything else stays the same. That was the only verbiage we changed, was their work hours.
Do we need to pass this completely tonight, or is this something that we can just do first reading and then our next meeting have second and third?
Uh,
I mean,
Unless it's just a dire necessity, I would rather do it on just one first reading, just because it was added at the last minute and we really haven't seen any of it yet, so that, unless it's.
That's
unless
fine
it
with
has to
me.
be.
I mean, it's,
I'm good with that
First,
too. I
yeah.
mean, right. I mean, anybody else? Nope, good.
Question?
So, I do have hold on for a second. So this is an ordinance to bridge the gap between the personnel policy handbook, being updated?
well, we have this old ordinance that says one thing, then we have this other handbook that says this. And we kind of go by more than one. The new handbook will be, this is how it is. But until the new handbook passes, we have more than one way to do it. We have to have one ordinance that says, this is the way we're going to do it.
So when is that handbook being updated? How long is this going to be a bridge?
I'm hoping that the handbook will be done in the next few weeks. We have a few more little things we're ironing out, and we're still working with the fire department on those to make sure we get the wording as we want those, but we should have that very soon.
Okay,
And the handbook is actually passed by the Board of Works.
yeah.
But right now, our handbook and our ordinances don't work together.
Yes.
So like, does this sunset then after we pass this? I mean, so we pass this and then the handbook takes precedent over this?
Or would it be in compliance with what you're writing?
It would be in compliance with the State Board of Accounts.
Have to reconcile between the ordinance and the handbook, but, so until I see the handbook.
All right, so we get
Yeah.
the ordinance passed and the handbook
Right.
comes out, then we update the ordinance. Is that
The
correct?
ordinance would need to comply with the new handbook, or we're just wasting our time.
But we will, before the next meeting, we'll get a copy of what we're actually gonna be voting on before the second and third reading, right?
This
It's
is what
just-
you're voting
That
on.
is that.
Did somebody
It
else have
changes, just changes one paragraph.
Oh, okay.
I emailed it out last week sometime, but I blame COVID.
I still get emails on vacation. I didn't see it. I must have him blocked. You know how some of those emails he sends
I'm in your
out.
spam folder.
So like, I guess the question is, if the handbook's gonna be here in a couple weeks,
Okay, the reason why this
All right,
is an
that's-
issue now is because we're now paying and we're starting a new year.
So I mean, then
We
is
need
it
them
of
to
the
all
ut-
be in
is
compliance
it-
with how we're doing it for everybody else, not the set of rules
So is
that
it of
they're
the
doing.
utmost importance to get it complete, get it passed today?
It would probably make her job easier.
Yes.
Keep up with overtime and calculating hours, it would be better to have this.
So the biggest thing that we're changing some wording and some verbiage as we move forward until the new handbook is passed or approved.
One
then-
day and 8 hours,
Okay.
that's the only change. 1 day and 8 hours for the scheme that is the fire department, Kelly's schedule, payment overtime.
How much money are we talking in overtime? Will it change?
Well, that would be hard for me to ascertain. Yeah, it's the hope is that with this new ordinance and the way they're kind of doing it, that we won't have as much overtime. This is to kind of help combat all that overtime, because the previous ordinance allows for a lot of stuff to fall through the cracks because it's not outlined the way we actually do it. And it's not even in compliance with FLSA guidelines. It's old, it's so old, but it supersedes what we currently have.
And the quicker we get this passed, the better we are. We're 11 days in already.
Correct.
So we wait longer, then we get further behind
Right.
because of this. Is this correct?
Yes,
all one
it
for
was
it.
my hope we would have had it done already, but I think COVID really kind of got us at the end of the year. It would have been my hope that we had already had it done and that we would have already passed it for 2021.
Any other questions, concerns? Anything? All right, so we had a motion and a call already. Yep, so let's go ahead.
So would this be the first reading?
This will be the
or
first reading.
Okay.
This will be the first, and then I'll make we'll get through, let's just get through the first reading.
Okay, so we'll go through the first reading. Okay, Mr. Gornow,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. Salters,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, first reading of ordinance 1/2021 passes.
I'm gonna make a motion to suspend the rules so we can have second and. You can just do second and just
And
then suspend the rules when we go for it. All right, I'll make a motion to have second reading on ordinance 1/20/2021.
Second.
That's gonna be terrible.
Okay, we've got a motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove, to have second reading of ordinance 1/2021.
Ordinance number 1-2021, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Vincennes, Indiana, amending amended ordinance number 30-94 to bring certain work schedules into compliance with State Board of Accounts requirements and the new city personnel policy and procedure manual. It's essentially just changing 1 day and 8 hours in section subparagraph 1C6.
Discussion again.
Question?
Mr. Stengel,
Yes.
Mr. Salters,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Gornow.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, second reading of ordinance 1/2021 passes.
All right, now make a motion to suspend the rules so we can have third and final reading on ordinance 1/20/2021.
Second.
Got a motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove, to suspend the rules to have third reading of ordinance 1/2021. No question?
Question?
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Gornow,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Yes.
Mr. McNeese,
Yes.
Mr. Ravelette,
Yes.
Mr. Salters,
Yes.
Mr. Stengel.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, the rules will be suspended to have third reading. I need a motion. Now I need a motion for.
Do I need to, since I put it in there? All right. Make a motion for third and final reading on ordinance 1/20/2021.
Second.
Motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove, to have third and final reading of ordinance 1/2021.
Ordinance number 1, 2021, ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Vincennes, amended ordinance number 30-94, bring certain work schedules into compliance with State Board of Accounts requirements under the new city personnel policy and policy and procedure manual containing sections 1 and 2.
Discussion again.
Question?
Mr. Gornow?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Yes.
Mr. McNeese?
Yes.
Mr. Ravellet?
Yes.
Mr. Salters?
Yes.
Mr. Stengel?
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, third and final reading of ordinance 1, 2021 passes. We will move on to claims.
Make a motion to pay claims in the amount of $174,060.49.
I made an addition on that docket. I had a claim that came in late for Wabash Valley Sportsman Club for $2,200. I did add that on. So the claims are actually $176,260.49. 176
Okay.
26049, and that included $2,200 to the Wabash Valley Sportsman's Club.
All right, so updated, make a motion to pay claims in the amount of $176,260.49.
Second.
Is that right?
Got a motion by President Salter, second by Vice President Grove, to pay the claims in the amount of $176,260.49. Any discussion on claims?
Question.
Mr. Ravellet?
Yes.
Mr. Gornow?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Yes.
Mr. McNeese?
Yes.
Mr. Salters?
Yes.
Mr. Stengel?
Yes.
And by a vote of 7-0, the claims are paid. We'll move on to miscellaneous.
Just a reminder to, I'll send an email out, dates for next week so we can get those videos done for our promotional piece. Also, too, looking over committees. One of the things that, kind of learned as we kind of put some of these committees together, some work better as committees, some just work better as just meeting with a group. So we're not going to have an intergovernmental relations committee anymore. I'm going to set up times that we'll meet with our commissioners. Commissioner Brink and I have set up some times that we'll meet monthly to go over stuff, and then I'm working on times to meet with our county council and then report back to you to kind of streamline that mode of communication. That's kind of how things worked out with COVID and everything, where we were kind of meeting on the side, and I kept you guys updated with those things. But we're going to have more formal kind of set meetings with the commissioners, with the county council, and then I'll bring that information back to you, all in the hopes of keeping us in better forms and better lines of communication with the city and the county as we kind of move forward and we get out of COVID into this year. So there we go.
Question for the mayor. Do you have any kind of update on the small business grants? How are we still sitting with money, or?
We're getting ready to have another meeting tomorrow, and we are down to under 100,000.
I think we're down to about 88,000 if all of those that are on the docket tomorrow are approved. There has been talk about adjusting those tiers to where those that have been previously funded could go for the difference of what their original tier, but that's up to the board, and they'll discuss that tomorrow.
Awesome.
Because we are starting to close in. I think we have until the end of May to close that, to expend all the money and to have the grant closed.
And then,
So-
just for your information, we are applying for the next 250,000 for the businesses as well. So,
Good, so they'll get another round.
well,
hopefully,
if we get approved.
if we get approved.
Yeah, and
It's a lot more
At this time,
competitive
it's
this
more
time.
competitive Because those communities that were in
They saw what they
entitlement
missed.
communities, which
Right.
is the bigger communities, they are involved in it now and can get the money, so.
Yeah.
well, and then from our last update to this, it seems like we've gotten a lot more out since we were there. So that's a great update that we've been able
Yeah.
to get that much out. So
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
thank you.
Move on to public comment.
I'm Dan Reitmeyer, I live at 1407 Vigo Street. And it's just by happenstance, I came tonight while Commissioner Brink brought up the paving in the Bunker Hill area. And it's something I've watched for a long time. I work at CLR, as many of you know. The drainage in front of our office is terrible.
Right.
That needs more than just paved. It needs curbs, sidewalk. It's so dangerous. There's so many people come from Bunker Hill with motorized wheelchairs, and I'm surprised somebody hasn't been hurt or killed there, honestly. If you doubt that, go out there sometime right after it's rained. We've tried to improve the drainage. In fact, we tried again this weekend. But I don't think the drain is quite far enough downstream from us to drain. It's just, and we've talked to Hunter Pennell a little bit, and so he's a little aware of it. And he's thought about a couple things to do, but really it needs the whole, from 15th Street out to the county line. For one reason, it looks terrible for people that come to our World Series, Little League baseball games. It would look so much better for the city and the county if that was paved, sidewalks, and all that.
And you'll be happy to know that when we do our paving, we sit down and meet with the utilities for that
Right.
reason.
Right.
to
And I
correct
know
drainage
most of your
problems
paving
and-
now includes
Right. We have to update
ADA
with
compliant and all
ramps.
that, yeah.
Dan, is that on the corner of, what corner is that?
I think it's 15th and Fraser,
Okay.
right where CLR and Glen Oaks Corner Cafe, it's a Kavanaugh, yeah. That's just a terrible curve right there anyway. And I know we have moved some of our equipment in the past because the line of sight was not good. But it just, man, I mean, it's all the way across the road. Cars can't meet one another whenever there's raining. It's something that really needs to be a number one priority, I think. And I think just like,
I'm curious, what did Hunter say about how that drains into City Ditch?
well, he thinks there's another pipe right
I think
between
there's
us and the
got to be.
gooch that he might be able to put a drain in. It's not visible now, but he thinks there's a drainage there between us and the gooch. But it is something that really needs to be addressed. Like I say, even for just so many people come to the World Series baseball games, it would just look so much better. And again, you would not believe how many people run up and down that street in motorized wheelchairs. Sometimes there's a little kid tucked in between somebody, and there may be three of them wide going down through there. It's just very dangerous. Just nice that it came up at the time when TJ brought that up. But those of you who've seen it, you know what it is. And anybody doubts it, like I say, after a rain, drive out there and look. It's really bad. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Any other public comment? Not for the good of the order.
All right, Councilman Grove, what we got?
Progress on First Street. The river lofts are looking awesome. They're about done with those. And then down further on the French Common areas, they've done work on the west side of First Street there, and it's just looking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that whole area is kind of transforming when you
Yeah.
look at the river lofts down into all those new apartments and stuff.
You wondered how it was going to look with the grain elevators down and then the architecture change there, but I think it looks wonderful.
Yep. District 2.
Few things. Actually, really happy for Bethany Presbyterian Church through those straight line winds that came through back in the spring. Their outside their building has been just, the bricks have been in a pile and waiting to get. They started work on that in the last couple of weeks, and that's starting to come to get that building back to where their sanctuary where it looked like, and before the storm. Want to give a shout out to the street and sanitation department. I was working from home today, and I sounded like a semi was coming through my backyard, and I thought I'd never heard that sound before. Looked out the door, it was I don't know what they call it, Mayor, the machine that levels and planes out the alley, but that really made a big difference. I drove around, and they were on the way to the meeting, there was quite a few alleys that were taken care of, so that was a good job by them. And this is kind of a different spotlight. I know a lot of in our community, the businesses do business with each other. Like, typically a restaurant will buy from Wabash Food Service, but in my district alone, and one that straddles my district, Heritage Farm Crafted Meats is selling Procopio's frozen pizzas for takeout. You take it home and bake. Cantwell Service Station on Washington Avenue is selling Quickies submarine sandwiches for grab-and-go meals, and Cantwell's on Kimmel Road sells Charlie's Caramel Corn for grab-and-go snacks. And a couple restaurants in town purchase their meat from Heritage Farm Crafted Meats and feature on the menu. But I thought it's great how their businesses are selling each other's products. I think that's great. You know, in a big city, you may not see that, but in small communities like ours, where the owners probably have breakfast together with each other, I think that's a great, says a lot about our small business community, how they work together and are willing to sell another business's product out of their own business. I think that's says a lot for our business community and the folks that live here. That's all I have.
District 3.
Thank you, Tim. Being president of the Public Safety Committee, I'd like to commend 3 officers going above and beyond, I believe. They took a report from a little girl that got her bike stolen. It was her major Christmas present. These 3 officers seen the report, and they wanted to replace the bike for her. I'm sure, you know, being fathers themselves, they knew how that little girl must have felt. And they went to Walmart and to purchase a bike for her, and Walmart just donated one. And I'm sure this, you know, made this little girl happy to get a new bike again. But the story had been published in a paper and on Facebook, you know, I think it was a week or so ago. But all the names weren't in there, so it was Officer Halter and also Officer Craycraft and Officer Martin. They're 3 fine officers I had the privilege of working with for several years, and I just think that, you know, they should be commended for what they done. Thank you.
District 4.
Okay, well, in light of recent events, I'm very happy to see we have progress being made for a full-time EMA director, and also the updated security at the county courthouse. I'm very happy to see both of those. Also, the lights are on inside Marshall's, and work's continuing there. Plus, they're leveling out a lot of ground at Texas Roadhouse, so we're getting excited about that too. Did I take yours?
No, Councilman Meese and I, we keep getting the restaurant wrong.
Oh. Texas Roadhouse.
It's one of those Texas ones.
Yeah.
District 5.
Want to just send out a commendation to the street department. As you walk around the community, there's so many things going on, but the street department does such a great job making sure things are cleaned up. They were out working hard the other day, cleaning up areas after rains, cleaning up sides of the roads. They have done really just such a great job. So I see those guys out there working hard, and really do appreciate it. And wanted to give a shout out to those frontline nurses and those at the hospital getting out and getting those COVID tests, or not COVID tests, but the COVID shots out, and helping our community heal and get back together.
Councilman McNeese.
That is my good of the order. I want to thank the people who are, getting vaccinated. There's a big difference between vaccine and being vaccinated. And the people that are getting vaccinated, I just appreciate them very much, including our school corporation and educators that we're seeing do that, and our frontline workers and our first responders. Thanks. Becky's here too. She's been working there at the health department. And thanks to the health department for doing that. That website opened up, and today was the first day for 80 and older. Is that correct? So congratulations, and I can't think of anything else better than moving forward. Get vaccinated, people, please.
And kind of in my world of school, we'll be back to in-person learning, basically the whole county, at the end of this week.
You made
And
every
that's a great
mom and
thing.
dad very happy about that.
A lot of parents are going to be happy, but We kind of take it for granted because we're one of the few counties where you've kind of seen extended in-person education, and that's a great thing. Our students have done a very great job in person, and you should see them. I mean, they follow those protocols to a T. There's really no issue when you get into our schools, and they've done a great job. And getting them back into schools, that's one of the key things that, you know, the mayor and I always talk about. We want our schools to stay open. We want our businesses to stay open, and those are kind of the two goals that we kind of focus on when we discuss things and go over things. But that starts on Thursday. You'll see basically all the county schools will all be back in person. I think some started this week. And when it comes to e-learning, even our youngest ones that are like in kindergarten are doing a great job. When you think about when we were back in March and kind of all this got thrown our way, to see where we were when this started to where we were at, to be able to have this ability and the kids know what they're doing, and like really nothing really catches them off guard. You know, I'm watching my first grade son who has a problem sitting down, and he can just log on, do what he needs to do, and then gets it done. I watch my wife set up the kindergarten classes, and those kindergarten kids know how to log on, do what they need to do. Now they're doing great. That's fantastic, but I can tell you they're all really excited to be back in in-person education. That's a big thing for the county. And I know the goal for every one of our superintendents, our teachers, is to be in through the rest of the year. And I can see that's where we're going, and it's very exciting to be able to see that. Mayor?
Dan had mentioned earlier about the EMA position. Tonight, the Board of Works did sign an agreement, interlocal with the county government, to basically what the city is going to do is change the job description that goes with John Streeter's position at the fire department, since he is the EMA director, and make that to where he's already doing that job anyways, even while he's on duty. But this way, we will be able to get some dollars in return from the state through the county. The other thing is, if you remember, several months ago, there was an individual here that was taking the church at 9th and Hart and turning it into housing. I'm happy to say that he did have an open house this weekend, and those 2 apartments look amazing. And with that, motion adjourned. If everybody's done.
Yep, so moved.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Did anybody go to that open house? Those are.
Yes. Okay.
Well, kind of a little bit of both. So yes, so they called me.
Thank you. Oh, God, yes. I did. I used my, yeah, I actually had it back like the next day. Really, the only thing that I really had that was kind of troublesome was the shortness of breath. And then the lingering headache, that terrible headache. But I never had a fever. I never had coughing. I never had some of that other symptoms. And
No.
yeah, I've heard a
My
lot
wife got
of
her,
people say
she got her second one. She had a little bit of tingling, just a little bit. She
I
said,
know a lot
but,
of
you
people
know,
that
and
have lost it. Luckily, I only lost it for like a day or two.
this afternoon, they said most people didn't have any side effects
yeah, and
the initial time. The next day they were a little sluggish, but other than that,